The victim has to be our priority, and it hasn't been up until now.
Rabbi Blau is one of the first rabbis to stand up vocally in support of victims. I'll step down, Rabbi Blau, please.
After you've seen that film, I don't think it's necessary for me to explain the terrible effect that sexual abuse has on the children who have been victimized. And these brave people who spoke are those who survived. There are others who, Rahman al-Islam, committed suicide, or others who just can't handle it, and their lives have been effectively destroyed. Certainly as Jews, as religious Jews, their faith has been eliminated. Their ability to enter healthy relationships as adults is often diminished to the point that they are incapable of having a successful marriage. Some of them are afraid of having children because they're afraid what will happen to their own children. What I do want to speak to you about is the response or lack of response of the community. Sexual abuse is a worldwide problem. We don't have good statistics, so I can't tell you if the numbers in our community are greater or less than any other community, but we know that it crosses economic lines, ethnic lines, religious lines. It's a problem everywhere. And it's certainly a problem in our community. I want to focus on the particular aspects of the problem that affect how we deal with it or don't deal with it within the Orthodox Judaism. Eli made reference to some famous and important terms that unfortunately have been used for decades to cover up abuse. We all know the dangers of slander, of lashon hara, of speaking badly about others, but most of us have forgotten that the verse in the Bible that talks about lo selech Rachel ba'amecha, one shouldn't go out telling stories about people, ends with lo samod al dam re'echa. You're not allowed to stand silent while the blood of your friend is being expunged, is going out, which we understand to mean that we can't walk away when someone else is suffering. We have a responsibility to protect that individual, and certainly we have an extra responsibility to protect children who are incapable often of even expressing what happened to them, let alone coping and responding to adults who abuse them. Many people have claimed that, first of all, Jewish people are different. We don't do these kinds of things. makes people feel good to say that, but unfortunately, you've already seen just a small sample of how we know it's just not true. And there's a tremendous reluctance to turn to the secular authorities. Historically, the Moser, the one told about his fellow Jew and went to the secular authorities, was often a traitor to his people. He wanted to curry favor with an anti-Semitic government by saying, I'm different, I'll tell on the other Jew. But we are talking, number one, about a country where Jews are treated fairly, a democratic society. Many halachic authorities say that Mesira doesn't exist in a setting where Jews are not treated differently than anyone else, and the government is basically fair. I said basically fair because we know there's corruption everywhere, but basically fair. But even those who disagree all acknowledge that if a person is a danger to the community, and the community cannot handle the situation internally, we have an obligation to go to the police, to the secular authorities, to protect those who are in danger. And I've been involved in this for close to 3 decades. And I can tell you that the rabbinic courts neither have the training, the expertise, nor the ability to carry out anything, even when they find out that someone is an abuser. Which means we cannot handle this problem internally. We know that in general, abusers do not abuse only one child. Some of them have abused hundreds, and they're ongoing danger even if they're 60, 70, or 80 years old. That doesn't stop them. So it's quite clear that if we understand our responsibilities halachically, properly, instead of trying to cover, we should be acting in favor of the victims, supporting them, encouraging them, helping them, working together with the police to reduce as much as possible the scourge from our midst. There's a film that's apparently one of the candidates for the Academy Awards called Spotlight. And it's about the Catholic, it's about a newspaper reporters who spent a year dealing with the cover-up of abuse cases by priests in the Boston area. Someone could make a movie about the Jewish community. We don't have any newspaper that yet put out such an article. Though newspapers have been helpful on many occasions. But we have a situation which actually differs from that of the Catholic Church. And that means, that refers to the fact that in the Catholic Church, there's a hierarchy. If a priest who abused is assigned to a new parish, we know who did it. There's clarity of who's responsible for that. In the Jewish world, it doesn't work that way. Many of you active in congregations, and you know that there's no rabbinic hierarchy that can force you to hire a particular rabbi. There's no one who says that The youth director has to be one we tell you to do. It's our total responsibility. Our problem is not just the rabbis, not just the hierarchy, it's our community. It's our community that decides how we're going to react when someone comes forward. Are they going to be shunned or the abuser? I'll hear people tell me, the abuser has a family. How can we hurt them? And now we should be concerned about the abuser's family. But the abuser should have been concerned about his family first. The victim has to be our priority. And it hasn't been up until now. It's not simply that you'll give a few dollars to JCW, and I wish you do, more than a few dollars. But every person in this room has to take on a new approach to dealing with the situation. When we find out about a problem in our community, we have to step forward, support the victim who's willing to go to the police. I don't want to take away from what we said there'll be a police officer here. I don't know what's going on in Pittsburgh. But I know people who work in district attorney's offices who will tell you that they don't deal with most of the cases in the Orthodox community, because even when a victim comes forward, during the time it takes till the case goes to the jury, enough pressure is put upon them that they no longer want to testify. And that pressure is coming from where? From the community. One of the people who was on the film was the husband of the victim of Nehemiah Weberman. And by the way, there were many other victims. The police knew about them. They weren't prepared to go public, but they were willing to speak privately. That particular Hasidic community backed the abuser. They raised money for the abuser. They shunned the victim. And it was not a unique situation of a particular Hasidic community. There are many such stories. And it goes across the board in the Jewish world. By the way, it's equally true in the modern Orthodox community, conservative, reform, Jewish renewal, whatever you want. We all have a lot to change. I want to end with just one example of many stories. Because this time I got a call from Buri Deutsch, Hasidic family in Borough Park. And by the way, I was born in Borough Park. Wasn't Hasidic yet, but it was certainly an Orthodox neighborhood. And their son was abused, and they don't know whether they're allowed to go to the authorities. And they needed a rabbi to tell them that they're permitted to go to the police to protect their child. So I called the house, and the wife, the mother, told me she had been abused as a child, wanted to, but she said, I need my husband here as well. I spent some time with them on the phone to discover they had no doubt that according to halacha, they're permitted to go to the police. Their problem was something different. What was going to happen to them in their community if they went to the police? And that I couldn't resolve for them. In fact, working with assistant DA, getting the name of a rabbi who supposedly cared. So what we did accomplish was two things. One, that the young boy was sent to a doctor to make sure he wasn't infected with some kind of disease by the abuser. And two, that instead of going to a heimischer or a heimischer therapist, he went to a real one. But when it came to the abuser, they were sent to a very prominent Rav in the community who told them, you don't want to go. And if you go, the community will shun you. An addendum, I was in Israel at a conference. The mayor was there with me. I chaired a session. And at that session, a Rav, an Israeli Rav, was on the panel. And he said that when someone came with the question, the Shaila, what should she do? Her child had been abused. He said, I'll tell you two things. Api halacha, you should go to the police. One. But two, if you go to the police, all your children will be thrown out of yeshiva. Of course, she didn't go to the police. This will change when our entire community changes its attitude. Thank you.